Welcome to Life with Miss Jewel, where we dive deep into Black culture and the unique experience of life. Join me as we explore identity, connection, and the experiences that shape us. This is a safe space for honest conversations, culture celebration, and discovering new perspectives. Let's get into it. This is Miss Jewel, and I'm so excited to be here. I was listening to an inspirational song, and I said, "Well, let's talk about it." So here we dive deep into culture, music, activism, and so we're going to bring Big Mama in the house, and we're going to have a discussion how it saved us, how it inspired us, how the music moves us inside of the church, and having a moral compass. So this is my girl Imzadi. She's here in the Gambia with us. She's lovely, and I'm just gonna pose the question. Like, let's just get back in the conversation where you left off. Inspired.
Yes. We were just talking about the song that we were listening to. It was a church song. It had a lot of energy. Can you play them a little bit of the snippet of the song so they can
Yes.
understand?
Yes. And so I was saying this is not a religious or a church scene, but I played that before we get started to inspire us because these are songs that uplift the spirit. And I
Right.
need that energy here in this interview. So go ahead, Imzadi, you can finish.
Yeah, so we listened to the song. We were supposed to be doing a cleansing of the mind at that time. And I just expressed to Jewel that it's hard to really listen to that song and have a clear mind because it puts you into an energy, especially as Black people. I grew up in the church, and you have flashbacks of the days, good old days when you were in church and they singing a song and everybody, hey. Then you got the lady, they two-step into the song. You got the pastor, he ad-libbing. So it's always a lively energy whenever you listen to songs like that. And then which is a positive to those type of songs, like Jewel was just saying, you can get energy, you can get hype, you can feel like you're connecting to divine, you're connecting to spirit because of how much soul that person is putting into the song.
Mhm.
It's awesome. And also, as we were talking, and Jewel brought up a great point as to where these kinds of songs also help us remember a bit of the agony that our people have transitioned through. These are songs that were sung in many forms. Maybe they're not the exact same lyrics, but the energy, the beat, the tempo, these are songs that they were singing on the plantation to try to have some sort of peace in their situations that were eventually transitioned into the church, to where we were singing differently, we're bringing in different words, but we're having the same energy, we're having the same rhythm, the same beats. And so you can use these songs as less of a church thing if you want to. If you do like the song, but you don't like the church, you can listen to these songs and you can use that energy, use that knowledge to remember your ancestors and try to have a feeling or a sense of how they felt as they were going through the things that they were going through that led us up until now, which is the freedom that we now have. So I think that was a great point that we talked about. I hope that you guys can kind of resonate with that a little bit. Now, I feel like there are negatives as well that go towards the songs And the only thing that I really can think negatively is that, which is the same thing that I wrote up, which is that these songs will bring up past memories. If you are somebody that was born, or not born in church, but raised in a church, and you have a negative connotation towards church, that could bring up past memories, past thoughts, and that is where you get the negative vibe from the song. But overall, these songs are great, great energy. It makes you want to get up, it makes you want to move.
And for me, when we talk about the ancestors, I like to remember them and dedicate my space to when I'm doing a project. So it's to bring that spirit, that strength, encouragement, and that life force, that vitality that they've had, because of them, we're here today and we have this freedom, we have this space where we can engage online, right, all over the world. But we have to acknowledge what happened to them. We have to uplift their spirit, and then uplifting their spirit uplifts our spirit, so we can continue the work of the fine fight. So it's not about church, it's not about slavery, it's about Big Mama and what she brought, right? It's about being a bigger spirit for everybody. This is a collective space, this is a space for the people, and let's continue to inspire one another. And that's what I want to bring to the family. And so, Imzadi, I want you to share a little bit about what you're doing here in the Gambia. Tell us everything.
Okay. So my name is Imzadi Viges. I'm 26 years old, and I have now been living in Gambia for 1 year as of October the 2nd, 2024. And it's amazing. Um, my husband and I and our two children relocated to Gambia, Africa, because from Houston and Arkansas. So I'm from Houston. I'm from Arkansas. My husband is from Houston. And we moved back to my hometown, Arkansas, and then we eventually moved from there to here, Gambia. We were in America, and we just go through the same things that most people go through. In America, you go through your strifes, you go through your hard times. You might have good times as well. There, you might have times where you're enjoying your space, the people that you're around, all of those things. But what we were finding in our lifestyle in America is that you always, always, always have a down. And whether that's an emotional down, a spiritual down, a financial down, you're always having it down. You're up, you can be high, but something is always bringing you back. um Maybe into a pattern that you don't want to do, maybe into a bank account, or just maybe into friendships or situations that you just don't want to be around anymore. It happens, and we realized that, and we eventually had our children, or I guess we had our children early in a relationship, and we didn't want that for them. We wanted to be able to raise kids in an environment that was healthy for them, but we can't raise healthy children if we ourselves are not healthy, if we don't have the mental capacity, and if our relationship is not strongly rooted and have a system to lean on. We felt like we weren't going to make it. And a big thing in relationships is money. So we started to think, okay, how can we break out of this? Adam was into Africa already. He introduced me to Africa. I was very ignorant of Africa when he posed it. I was like, oh, I don't want to move to Africa. I don't want to live in a hut. Where am I going to get water? How am I going to eat? How am I going to move? How am I going to watch TV and have internet? These are just ignorant phrases. We just do not know. As African Americans, we are not educated on Africa. You come over here though, and you see the Europeans here, they're educated on Africa. You see the Chinese here, they're educated on Africa. The Lebanese, they're educated on Africa. So now it's our turn to turn around and educate ourselves on Africa, only because we're coming from a space that's purposely going to distort Africa to us always and forever. It's not going to change. They're never going to change. The only thing that is going to change for you with that concept is if you take your own accountability and you teach yourself and engage. So we start to look up Africa. At first it was Ghana. They had the big wave moving to Ghana. But we saw that Gambia was more peaceful, and at the time we wanted our more money for our bank, for our buck, I guess you could say. So where the translation of money was more, you get more for a dollar here in Gambia right now, and we wanted to take advantage of that. We visited February 2023. Beautiful. We loved it. We fell in love. So once we got back to the States after our first move, after our first visit, we were able to purchase land during that visit and register a business here in Gambia during that visit. When we went back home, we said, okay, it's final. And we purchased our tickets before we even had our passports. We purchased our tickets. No, we had our passports then. Sorry. We purchased our tickets before we even had a place to stay. And we came back. We came back October the 2nd, 2023, and we've been here ever since. We do have a business here where we
How easy it is to set up a business here. That part.
yes,
Just tell them how
yes,
easy. Share
it's
your
very
experience.
it's very easy to set up a business here. Like I said, our very first visit back in February 2023, when we were coming just to visit, we didn't come with the idea we came with the idea of purchasing land, but not the idea of starting a business. We got here, we ended up meeting like-minded people, another African-American man here. He has an ice business. His name is Dr. Will, amazing person. He ended up connecting with us and giving us the money and the connections to go to the what I guess it would be like the revenues office or something like that, and register our business. So it was super easy because we were able to connect with the people to do that. And it might seem like, oh, hey, you guys had a connection when you went. That's why it was so easy. But I can honestly tell you, if you come to Gambia and you connect with us or generally with somebody, they will guide you in the right direction, at least to help you on your path of registering your business. So it took us getting the same thing that you would do in America. You need a TIN number, you need a business name, and you need at least like $100 to register that. And then once you have all the information, you take it, you register it, and it's done. Now every year you just have to renew.
It's a cakewalk. I was amazed how easy it is to set up your foundation here. Um, all you got to do is have your tribe, your group, your people with you, and things can go very smooth. And like baby girl explained, meeting with like-minded people here, it's inevitable because if you're in Africa, you like-minded already. So no cap, when you come here, you got a like mind to thrive, to do something different, and leave in America to transition. And the transition can be so smooth when you hook up with people here. Everybody can be very loving. Now, for disclaimer, there are crooks everywhere you go, and be careful. You got to be careful. There is some things you got to just look out for, and that's everywhere. So I'm not saying this is better than this. I'm saying be straightforward, know who you're dealing with, and be sure who you're dealing with. You can contact me. You can contact Imzadi. Our information will be in the bio. We'd love all of our people to come and join. We'll be hosting retreats pretty soon. Everybody's invited. And tell us about your tiny houses that you're doing. And this will be our
Yeah, so in lieu of all of the things that we were able to do, when you think about our age range, finances do play a part. There are very successful 26-year-olds. At the time I was 25. There are very successful 25-year-olds that's making good income, that's able to do everything that they want to do, but that's just not the majority. And especially when we start to talk about the African American community, how broken up it is, family wise, structure wise, financial literacy, all of those things. When you start to think about that, there are a lot of us in our younger age groups that don't really figure out money until we're older. Um, Adam and I ended up being in a tiny home. It's a very long story, but we ended up living in a tent, and we said, you know what? We hit rock bottom. We've hit the bottom. It didn't quite feel like rock bottom, but it was rock bottom. And so we were like, there's nowhere else to go but up. Adam was always interested in tiny homes. I always dismissed the idea. Once we ended up living in a tent, I said, you know what? Let's figure something out. Met a lady. She purchased a shed. It was a white lady. She purchased a shed. She said, oh, I turned it to a she shed. She just started showing me all of the things, showing me pictures, everything. It was beautiful. I said, wow, we can do something like that. Let's purchase a shed and let's try. So we purchased a shed and we were able to convert the shed, convert our shed into a tiny home. Because we were in the transition of moving to Africa as well, we wasn't able to put our all into it, but we were able to put enough into our home to where we purchased a solar generator. So we were completely off of the grid with our electricity. We were able to use. So basically, we would go to Walmart, and in all WalMarts, I think even in Sam's, they have a spot where you can go and you can refill jugs, huge jugs, gallons of water for like $20, $5, depending on like the size of the bottle and or the size of the jug. And so we would do that, and we would use that water to wash ourselves, to cook, things like that. And so we became completely off the grid with our water. We went to composting toilets, meaning basically that you would use ash or hay or which ash is the best, or hay or any kind of animal um, covering what is it, litter, things like that. You would use that and you would put that inside of the toilet, and that would be how you would recycle. And then you just dump and refill, and it worked. Like I said, if you're interested in that, I will suggest ash, because that keeps the smell away. Nothing else keeps the smell away besides ash. So we were completely off the grid with our toilet system. So we start to see our money, and then we started getting smart. We said, hey, let's purchase our phones instead of continuing to pay a bill every month. And so we purchased our phones, and we said, hey, let's go ahead and finish with our car payments. And so we were able to pay off our car, and we started to really see our money, which then in turn helped us to be able to afford tickets to Africa, afford passports, afford moving our family to Africa as well. And so through that transition, through that experience, we realized one of the biggest reasons why us as African Americans are not in Africa is, even if we are educated a tiny bit about Africa, is because of finances. Finances is our biggest struggle when it comes to
Right.
our people.
That's
So through a tiny home, we saw that what we were able to do. And why would that be any different in Africa? Why would that not actually make the move and a transition to Africa better? So we decided to dedicate our business towards building tiny homes for people. You can call it whatever you want: starter homes, modest mansions. Some people even only use the homes as boys' quarters for their you can do whatever you want with it, but we specialize in building small homes for people so that you can come and you can live, and you don't have to worry about rent. You don't have to worry about water. We do
growth.
advocate solar. You wouldn't have to worry electricity if that's what you opt into, but they do have.
The internet is kind of wonky here. Maybe she come back in. But let me tell you, she has a plug for tiny homes. She has a company. She's 26 years old. She has a family, and she is just plumb amazing. And when I met her, I was so inspired at her being so young and here and thriving in the Gambia. So she is inspiration for everybody that's young out there who say or think they can't do it. You can. So I was just explaining, you're amazing that you're young and you and your family are here and you're doing the tiny home business. Her information will be in the bio. Please, please link up. Everybody is welcome. And I want to say, because of time, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us on the second episode of the Cultural Tides. And this is how we tie us together. We're family. Thank you so much.